is a presentation of the Match Talk Podcast Network. It's time for the ODU Wrestling Monarch Mattcast, a show dedicated to all things related to the Old Dominion Wrestling program. On the web at monarchmattcast.com. Now, here's your host, three-time National Wrestling Writer and Broadcaster of the Year, and 2004 ODU alumnus, Jason Bryant.
Another episode of the ODU Wrestling Monarch Mattcast, episode 68, as we move into season 6 of this podcast, along with that team out in Blacksburg. ODU has been one of the flagship college teams here on the Matt Talk Podcast Network. Now we're bringing Daryl Thomas on to talk about things Old Dominion Wrestling. But first, Daryl, another year, another exciting way to present the Monarch Wrestling news to the world with the ODU Monarch Mattcast.
Absolutely. We love having it. We love being a part of it, and it's always good to be able to share an insight to our program through your platform.
Now, I do have one question for you, though. Are you an avid podcast listener?
Yeah, I do. I do listen to a lot of podcasts on my way in. So I live out in Chesapeake, about 20 minutes away from campus. So usually in the morning I'm listening to a podcast, and on the way home I'm listening to a podcast.
When it's not, when we don't do a show and you're going back and making sure that Steve isn't saying things or laughing, how about that evil cackle, man? That was just something that was like Halloween. I was playing that on repeat when kids were trick-or-treating. We had nobody because everybody ran away. They were so scared. But when you're not listening to this program, because you're usually a guest on this program, what are your main podcasts of choice when you're coming in or leaving campus?
If it's not this, or maybe listening to First Take. I listen to a lot of First Take, ESPN First Take with Stephen A. Smith. I like listening to that. I keep up with the alma mater. It's called the Jeremy Werner Show. So I keep up with all things there with all sports, even especially wrestling, obviously, but also football and basketball. So those are a couple that I listen to.
Yeah, those are not really on my radar, since I believe I think we're up to 66 wrestling shows and 20-something are on this network. So to try to just keep up with wrestling alone, it's just like, okay, I'm going to have to hear about the Bill Farrell 15 times this week. That's going to be fun. Speaking of Bill Farrell, we had Coach Beasley wrestling up there this weekend. Yeah,
it was good. He's good for him to get back on the mat and kind of get himself ready for the Open. He won his first match and then lost to Kyle Snyder in the second round, and then dropped a tight 5-4 match to Derek White, former national finalist from Oklahoma State. Had a front headlock, and I thought he was going to end the match, and they stopped it. I was pretty shocked at that, but I thought he competed well. First time getting back on the mat in a while, and now he's moving forward and getting ready for the Open.
Yeah, just going after some really big. I mean, Derek White was a heavyweight. Now he's coming back down after his years as cowboy bulk jobber now over. Now moving to this year's Monarch Wrestling program, coming off the first dual meet of the year, a 22-11 loss at number 9 NC State. But before that, up at the Journeyman Collegiate Classic, which was a pool bracketed type of format, and a couple Monarchs came away with individual titles. But as the way it works, you're getting 6 or 7 guys in a weight, and they'll wrestle a couple matches, and then the winners will face each other. And it's not like a full true bracketed tournament. What did you feel the squad got out of this tournament?
Yeah, I think it was a good opportunity to see some other Northeast teams and some different teams in the pool. Pool format is definitely different. I mean, some of them are loaded, and then some of them have just a couple guys in them. Some of our freshmen, like Shannon Hanna and Alex Kramer, both won the tournament. They wrestled well. They were in some of the lower pools, but again, at the end of the day, you got to beat who's in front of you, and they did that. So credit to them. Perry ended up winning it as well at 41. There was 2 very tough brackets there at 41, and he was in the second of the 2. We tried to get him up into the other one, but they felt like it was going to be too many hammers in that top pool. So we were in the other one, and he looked pretty good, winning, beating a tough kid from Lehigh in pretty controlling fashion, 3-2, if you will, and then dominated his finals match against Lipari.
Now, when we look at freshmen, true freshmen specifically, talk about Shannon Hanna and Alex Kramer, when you get them into the lineup and you get them some matches in the early going, how important is it from a coach to not just, it's not like you're putting them in easier situations, but getting an opportunity to get wins under their belt and build some confidence. So an event like this really kind of works for that.
Yeah, it's gigantic. I mean, they could have gone to an Open that weekend, but but just knowing where they are in terms of our team and our team needs, in the lineup, it just made sense to get them that experience. And again, experience is invaluable, and for them to get that, regardless win, lose, or draw, you're getting better and you're learning.
Heading into Friday, the next event was at number 9 NC State, and this is something that has become one of the weirdest dynamics, at least from where I sit, having known Coach Popalizio a long time, and their show was on the network here, and having known Steve Martin since I was in high school. It's like how these two get along is just one of the craziest things with the off-season training and workouts with the regional training centers, and then the dynamic of how hard these two dual meets are. I mean, these dual meets are year in, year out. It's like, okay, why is ODU constantly giving NC State fits? This year was no exception. You said before the show that was a duel that was very winnable.
Yeah, I mean, I just think, like you said, there's a friendly piece to it, and then the duel is always very tight. I think it's just a respect to both programs, and we understand that ultimately the duel is going to help both programs for the end of the year. It's a good rivalry. That it was a phenomenal atmosphere, and I really felt like we were in position after the first 4 matches to win. And unfortunately, things didn't go our way on the back half. Losing some tight ones and losing an unexpected one there at 97 with Tim Young. But for him, it was a situation where we're proud of him for stepping out there. He came in Thursday before we left and was sweating bullets in the office, and had the flu, so he got on some meds and tried to get as good as he could to go, and we appreciate his effort, and just unfortunately he wasn't there. He wasn't who we think he is, but we know what he's capable of, and he's shown early on in the season already, losing some tight matches to top 10 guys, that he's right there and could very well easily be an All-American this year in his senior year. Yeah, but I think it was very good for our program. I think from a coach's standpoint, you watch it and see how it unfolds, regardless of the box score. If you're in it, you understand how good of a team we think we have and what we can be this year. And we have a senior-laden team, and now it's just up to those guys how good we want to be. They got to hold each other accountable, and we got to stay healthy.
Looking at where the duel started at 149 pounds, and Keenan Carter got the go and avenged a loss from earlier this season. He had lost to A.J. Lighton at the Citadel tournament and comes around with a solid victory to kick things off at 149. Is this something that just clicked this week with Keenan, or is it just that battle in the room with Kevin Budak? I mean, what do you think the difference was from this week to 2 weeks ago when he lost to him at the Citadel?
I think it's probably a combination of things. I think for Keenan, for some reason, he wrestles better in a duel, and I think he cares about the guys that are sitting on the bench with him. And I think that he's able to get up for the dual meets a little bit differently, which he's going to have to fix here if he wants to have some success at the end of the year and get to the national tournament and do something in his senior season. But for some reason in the dual meet, he's just much better. He's just much better. And like I said, being a senior team captain, I think he puts that on his shoulders and tries to go and rally the guys the best he can every time out.
157 pounds. This was everything I think people expected it to be after Larry Early picked up the victory last year over Hayden Hidley, and now this year, both returning All-Americans, both ranked in the top 4 in the country. This just looked like it was an NCAA semi, knowing it was down to the wire. It was a late takedown that won it, and even though Larry came up on the losing end, what were you most pleased about from his performance?
I think it was one of those things that, again, you talked about a friendly rivalry, and I was talking to some guys I know on the other side in the RTC program, and they're like, Hayden's ready to go. He's coming for blood. Major this and that, and it was friendly though. We all get along, but I think it was just good for Larry to be right there and have an opportunity to win for his confidence more than anything, knowing that it wasn't a fluke last year, and knowing that that's if everything goes right, which. There's a lot of things in between, but everything goes right. That's a semifinal match that he knows in his head he's going to be right there to win and give himself a chance to be in the NCAA finals. What's
it going to take for him to win that match? He's been close. I mean, it's a dual meet in November. It's not a semi in March. What's it going to take for him to make sure that he's in a position to win those matches?
Well, he's got to go get it. He can't wait and try to look for a counter. He's got to go get the takedown at the end of the match. You know what I mean? He's got to go steal it. He's got to go take it and put it in his own hands and not hope for something to happen.
165, a big win for Shane Jones, who was just a point away from picking off the upset last year. This year gets the win over Thomas Bullard and throughout the situations kept scrambling well with him. Bullard's a funky guy, but this is kind of a statement win for a guy that's been, again, Shane Jones wrestled Shane Griffith really tough from Stanford, who's, coming out with he had the big fall against Ohio State 2 weeks ago. He's like one of the buzz freshmen this year, and Shane Jones sitting there hanging with him. His 3 losses this year are tight, 1-pointers, and then you had the one with Josh Shields. But this is a statement win. What was it like for Shane coming off the bench and getting this top 10 victory? And for a lot of people, it wasn't surprising to you guys, but for a lot of the country, that put people go, who is this guy?
Yeah, it was. We're all just so happy for Shane, and it's just a long time coming to finally get over the hump and get one. Like you said, Griffith, he's right there, and it's not like one of those 3-2 matches against Griffith where it looks close, but it really wasn't that close. He literally was in on legs with the opportunities to win that match and probably should have. And then Shields, Shields controlled him a little bit, but he's right there with him. And then to break through and get one over a top 10 guy. We're just super excited for Shane and the rest of his year ahead, because he's got a lot of room to grow and continue to announce who he is as a wrestler and continue to have some success this year. And who knows what happens at the end of the year, but the way he's wrestling right now, he's looking like he can do some special things this year.
Moving to 174, Alex Kramer gets the nod as the true freshman, knocking off Jacob Ferreira, who had actually beaten the other Bullard out for the spot in the wrestle-off. And 10-4, I mean, that's you're approaching bonus victory situation, a first dual meet for a true freshman. I mean, Steve Martin had talked earlier in the year that Kramer kind of surprised him in the wrestle-off after what was wondering what we was going to do in the room the first month of practice. But what about the development in the first month of the season for Alex Kramer?
Yeah, he's just a different animal in competition when the lights come on, and you literally see a switch flip. And it's crazy because you say that, you tell kids all the time, look, you can't flip a switch. You have to be consistent. You have to keep, stay even keel. Don't get too high. Don't get too low. But he just has a special trait and characteristic where he just gets up when it's time to compete. And he's special. He's gonna be a special kid for this program. And I think him being here has helped everybody around him, and you see Shane Jones finally getting those big wins. It's a testament to having a guy like a Kramer and a guy behind him like a Kellen Eckern, who is definitely coming on now. So he's special, and I think the one knock I would put on him in that match is go get the bonus points. Go get the bonus points. You had a whole period and opportunity to go get those bonus points and score another takedown and secure that for your team. And that's just the next step in his development, is really smelling blood and going after it.
Trent Hadley came out there at 184 and put a major decision on Antonio Agee. Antonio wrestled at the Open 2 days later. And what's the situation there in terms of, Hadley's a very talented redshirt freshman. Of course, Antonio coming off the injuries last year. What was your overall thoughts on the dual meet performance, and then what was the situation on Saturday with the Wolfpack Open?
Yeah, the dual meet, Hadley's very good. He's very good. I think we thought that on paper going in, and he just kind of controlled the center of the mat very well for a freshman, very, very veteran-like, and AG just never took that position back on the mat, and it showed in the box score. And then AG, he didn't know he was going to be wrestling on Sunday. It was kind of a split-second decision after the dual meet to leave him down with the team, with the guys that were competing Sunday, just from the standpoint of we understand what you have to do to get to the national tournament, and wins and your record is important. So we wrestled him in the Wolfpack on Sunday, and just wanted to, more than anything, he had a little tweak, and wanted to make sure we got him some time to get healthy before next week for the Navy Classic. So it was a little more precautionary than anything, but he's getting the proper treatment, and he'll be ready to go next week.
Yeah, so get a couple wins. It's an Open. It's not like it's a huge deal for a tournament title or anything. So get some wins and peace out.
Yep.
Now, at 197 pounds, you had alluded to this earlier with Tim Young, who had 3 first-period takedowns and then got beat by Tyree Houghton from NC State, got cradle up and pinned, and that was a real match-turning momentum situation there, as ODU had won 3 of the first 4, and then, coming off the loss with Agee with the major, giving up another bonus point. The mood as a coach here, you had explained what the situation was with Tim Young, but from a coaching standpoint, what is the moment like for you guys to make sure you look at the bench and you gauge the temperature, I guess, of the emotion on the bench? What do you do in that moment to kind of make sure you can try to keep the guys up and know that, okay, that didn't change everything. Let's stay motivated here.
Yeah, I think it's all for, as a coach, it's always one match at a time. But in that environment, he gets that pin as I think Tim was heavily favored, and the whole place goes nuts. Their whole bench is going crazy, and then immediately for us as a coach, it's go get the next guy ready. Get the next guy ready, and Coach Blyce is in the back getting Hilliard ready the whole time, and then I just walk back and tell him, hey, focus on you, worry about you, and do your job. And go out there and let's get the momentum back. It's definitely all about momentum in dual meets, and when it's not going your way, you need somebody to stop the bleeding. And obviously Hilliard lost a tight one, but Killian, Cardinal stepped up and got a big one and got that momentum back to us and gave us a chance again in the dual meet.
And as far as Hilliard goes, what's he got to do to win these close matches? Because heavyweights are so often, one takedown, one mistake, or one great opportunity is really all you get to capitalize on. And 3-1 is one of those, like, you look at the box score, yep, that's a one takedown match.
Yeah, I think a little bit for Hilliard is just he's just fighting the injury bug, and he's got to, so unfortunately for him, he's having to worry about rehabbing and staying healthy and getting on the mat more than getting better. Like he wants to be right now, as far as technical and things like that. So for him, it's once his body's healthy, then he can actually focus on just getting better. I think you'll see him change the direction of where he's going right now. So that's the big thing for him, I believe.
Now we come back around to 125. You'd already kind of alluded to this. Killian Cardinal with a big win, his second-ranked win of the year. He's already got a win over Brock Hudkins, who Mr. McGee knows pretty well from his time at Northern Illinois. Brock Hudkins now at Indiana, and now Jake Camacho came in with some pretty high accolades as a redshirt freshman, ranked as high as 13th in the country. 6-5 win, and right now, I mean, the question's when's Mikhail McGee going to come back? But also, Killian Cardinal is standing there and holding that spot down pretty solidly.
Yeah, Killian's he's wrestling amazing right now, and he's wrestling within himself. He's not worried about who he's wrestling. He's worried about his performance and getting to his positions and continuing to wrestle through every position, regardless if he's getting taken down and or whatever. He's just going to the next point, and that's such a great thing to see as a coach, because he's never going to be out of a match, and right now it's allowing him to win and beat some pretty highly touted guys. Like you said, Camacho was all world coming out of high school, and they got some high praise for him, and he's going to beat a lot of people, and so that's going to be a gigantic win for Killian at the end of the year. So like I said, he took the momentum back for us. That was huge, and going into 2 matches to go, and I think it was 16-12, and gave us an opportunity again when things weren't going our way just shortly before that. So as far as McGee, he's getting healthy. I think he's probably about a month away from being back. But again, nothing's handed to you, and now those guys are going to have to battle, and may the best man win, and that's what you need. Our program, we're at the point now where having that depth is important to take the next step as a program, and the best programs have it. The best programs have it. You see it every year where guys are, this guy's beating this guy's beating this guy, and then, if it comes down to it, they'll have to wrestle off at the end of the year. So be it, but that's what we need to make the next step as a program and try to break through into the top 15 and 10 every year. 133,
Shannon Hanna winning most of that match, and then gets taken down to his back late against Kellen Devlin, who's been battling for the spot there at NC State. And what do you chalk this one up to? Freshman mistake, first dual jitters. I mean, it looked like he was wrestling that match pretty well throughout.
Yeah, he wrestled a great match for 6 minutes. Wrestled a great match for 6 minutes in probably 20 seconds. Just kind of, we knew where Devlin was good, and he hadn't got there the whole match. And I think it was a situation where he was maybe a little bit of freshman, being a freshman there and trying to finish out the match and close it out against a guy who's a junior and has been there and been in those matches before, and knew to just keep wrestling and go to the next situation, like I talked about with Killian. He's right there. He's a very talented freshman, and he's just kind of taking his growing pains right now. But I think more than anything for him, this experience is gigantic because he's still young in the sport. He started wrestling in freshman year of high school. So every day, every match is a learning experience, and it only adds to his growth. And I think by the end of the year, he can be very, very scary. He's a guy that you probably don't want to wrestle.
Yeah, Coach Martin had said that he would not be surprised if Shannon Hanna was the starter at this point, and at some point in the season, and already it's this point in the season. What's kind of made him emerge as the guy in the room?
Well, he has some things that I won't say on air that make him pretty tough to wrestle, and I'm sure people will figure that out as they go along. But he's got some things that make him pretty tough to wrestle, and he's tough. He's tough mentally. He's fought through a couple things in the preseason and to be where he's at, and done a great job with his weight, very veteran-like, and controlled his weight very well. And right now, he just was the best guy. He was the best guy collectively from all aspects, on the mat, off the mat, and weight management and those things. So it just made sense to get him the experience now. While, like I said, he's so young and green in the sport that every match he's getting better. So he's going to be scary at the end.
Finish out with probably the second highlight match of the duel. Tariq Wilson edges Sedarian Perry 3-2 in a matchup of All-Americans. Again, this is a national quality matchup. This is a blood round type of match. This is a quarterfinal type of match. This is something that you're going to have to beat somebody like this to get back on that podium if you're Sedarian Perry. And a little emotions kind of there at the end. We lose the team point, but overall, where does Sedarian need to improve to win this match? I know that there was a challenge takedown early in the bout that you guys were not really too pleased with, but explain the situation here and what needs to happen again for guys like Sedarian Perry to win matches like this.
Yeah, I think he's right there. I think it's just being more offensive, like I talked about with Larry. It's not waiting. He's very good defensively, but it's also like pick your pressure up to force this guy to open up a little bit so that you can get to where you want to be. So I figured they would neutralize each other just because they have a little bit of a similar style. And then once they felt each other, it was going to be not a staring match because there was a lot of action. They both went after it, but it was they're both very good. And it's so razor thin at the elite level that sometimes what happens is one situation type of match could change everything. So, but I do think for Sedarian, the biggest thing for him is getting things in order outside of wrestling. Once he gets all those things in order, I think the wrestling will take care of itself. He can beat anybody in the country. I truly believe that. It's just making sure that he's got the total package, in order when it all matters.
Next event for the Monarchs, November 23rd, up in Annapolis at the Navy Classic, followed by a week off for Thanksgiving, and then the Patriot Open at George Mason. So as the semester's winding down, we've got exams approaching typically the first week of December. Overall thoughts on where the Monarchs are after 2 open tournaments and a dual meet, 3 open tournaments and a dual meet.
Now, like I said, we head down to Navy Classic this week. We're actually figuring that all out right now, who's all going to go and, who we're going to leave behind the train. So we probably will not have our full team, but we'll have a good amount of it, and we'll get some of those younger guys and other guys in the weight classes some opportunities again to go out and kind of state their case.
So in case anybody's looking to head up to the Naval Academy, teams in attendance: Air Force, American, Brown, Bucknell, Campbell, Cleveland State, Edinboro, George Mason, Kent State, Lock Haven, Michigan State, Navy, Ohio ODU, Oregon State, Rutgers, the Citadel, Virginia Tech. That's a pretty impressive class for the Navy Classic this year. It's been 3-4 really good teams, and then teams that had pretty good wrestlers throughout. But this is a much more deeper tournament than it's been in the past years.
Yeah. I was looking at it this morning and a little bit last week. I was like, man, there's going to be 4 or 5 guys at every weight class that is going to make for some really good quarter, semis, and finals matches. So it'll be a good tournament, good test for some of our guys again to kind of finish off, like you said, a busy November, and then we kind of have a little bit of downtime. We'll have some guys go to the George Mason Open December 7th, but not very many, and then we'll head to SIUE on December 18th for the dual meet. So busy November, slow down a little bit in December, heal up any injuries, and get some opportunity to really train and try to push through and get to another level.
A couple of things that are newsworthy in the MAC. Of course, most people know I live out here in Minnesota, and one of the new members of the MAC, one of the old CAA rivals, Ryder, picked up a big win at Minnesota, knocking off then the number 6 Gophers. Ryder currently ranked 4th in the conference. It's Missouri, Old Dominion, Lock Haven, and Ryder, top 4. And when the 4th-ranked team in the MAC knocks off a Big Ten school in their place, this just shows that how good the MAC's going to be this year. Yeah,
and I think there were some questions as to how how many bids would come in with the EWL, and we figured right from the get-go, we're like, man, they're going to bring a lot of bids, equal to what the MAC brought, So it's good for the conference, really good for the conference, and we continue to build that. I think the programs kind of feed off each other, and seeing how everybody's recruiting is getting competitive. It's getting competitive, and that's good for the conference for sure.
Also of note, one of the new teams that came in from the EWO, Edinburgh, Matt Hill in his second year there, already got 5 dual meet wins this year. Matter of fact, they started the year with more dual wins in one day than they had the entire season last year. So the Fighting Scots are going to be more formidable. And it seems like the MAC East is really going to be a dogfight this year.
Yeah, it's going to be a fight for sure. Because I just seen George Mason knocked off Clarion as well, and Clarion's got a solid squad this year too. So it'll be fun. It'll be fun on the back half of our schedule going through that MAC East.
All right, Daryl Thomas, in the time we got left, anything to add that Monarch Nation needs to be aware of when it comes to this wrestling program?
Yeah, we just had a signing day. We're just waiting on one more letter of intent to come in, pretty big one, and then we'll announce the whole class as a whole. I'm sure they've seen everything coming out, but we believe it's probably a top 12 to 15 recruiting class in our eyes. So we're excited about that, being able to put another one together. And anytime you start to stack recruiting classes on top of having a little bit of the success we're having right now, it's a good thing, and we're definitely moving in the right direction.
We'll talk signing day on the next episode of the Monarch Maccast. So for Associate Head Coach Daryl Thomas, this is Jason Bryant. You've been listening to episode 68 of the Old Dominion Wrestling Monarch Maccast.
This show is part of the Matt Talk Podcast Network. For more wrestling podcasts, head over to MattTalkOnline.com.